Welcome to this month's Heart Bunch video brought to you by Utah State University Extension Health Extension Advocacy Research and Teaching Initiative, or as we are called, the Heart Initiative. We're calling this segment Heart to Heart, where Heart faculty interview a guest about a specific topic. My name is Gabby, and I am joined here by my Heart colleague, Sadie, and our guest, Marla Brenham. And in this video, we wanted to share some important information about heat-related illnesses. So before we actually get into the questions, I wanted to ask Marla to just tell us about herself and what she does. So Marla, take it away.
All right. As Gabby said, my name is Marla Branham. I work for the Utah County Health Department as the Injury Prevention Program Coordinator, and I'm also the Safe Kids Utah County Coalition Coordinator, which is a local coalition of safe kids worldwide. I do everything unintentional injury prevention related. And with safe kids in particular, it's everything unintentional injury related 0 to 19. But we work with all ages as we're going through this, and heat related illnesses is just one piece of what we do.
Well, thank you, Marlo. We are incredibly grateful to have you here. And I think the most common question that we get is, what is the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke?
So heat exhaustion and heat stroke are basically the last two stages of heat-related illnesses. You have heat rash, heat cramps, then you get to heat exhaustion and heat stroke. The biggest difference between them, heat stroke is life-threatening, basically. And you cross a line. So with heat exhaustion, your core body temperature is between about 101 and 104. Basically, you're hot. There's a general weakness. You'll experience thirst. You may have a weak, rapid pulse or heart rate. You may have some nausea or fainting. There could be some muscle cramps, headaches, dizziness, general lethargy, just kind of some weakness. And all these are not good. When you cross over into heat stroke, though, that's when your core temperature has raised above 104 degrees. And it becomes an emergency because there's some severe consequences that can happen to organs in your body when your temperature gets up that high and stays up that high. With heat exhaustion, sorry, I'm going back a little bit, you will tend to have moist, clammy skin because your sweating is your body's way of cooling off. When you get to heat stroke, your body has, its system has been taxed out. And so you will tend to have hot, dry skin at that point because you just can't sweat enough to cool off. Your pulse would tend to be rapid and strong, or your heart rate. You will not be able to sweat any longer. Again, you could have dizziness and fainting. There may be seizures involved. You could have slurred speech, like a stroke would happen. There may be some hallucinations and altered mental state, confusion, aggression. So you can see where the difference kind of leads on. You can see where it can start out as heat exhaustion. If it's not addressed, it could go to heat stroke pretty quickly.
So who's at most risk?
The ones most at risk are the very young and very old. They just don't regulate their body temperature as well. Those are the biggest ones. If you're extremely active outside when it's hot, so a lot of workers end up getting heat, especially if the heat index is high and or there's a high humidity index. If they're dehydrated going into it, or they don't drink enough liquid while they're out, and if you haven't given yourself time to adapt. Because, if we move from a cooler state to a hotter state or one that's got more humidity, you need to give yourself time to adapt before you go into your full normal routines.
So what do you do if you think someone is suffering from heat stroke or heat exhaustion, whether it's someone that you're around or yourself?
First things first, get out of the sun. That's one of the first things. You need to find some sort of shade. If you can get to an air-conditioned building, that's great. But if you can't, get out of the sun, rehydrate. Get water in your system quickly to try and give your body a chance to work and cool the body down. Generally speaking, the best way is with air conditioning. You could also immerse them in a cold water bath. If you're near streams, that would work because especially our mountain streams tend to be very cold. You can soak their clothes in water to help reduce it. If you have ice or cold packs around their neck, and the groin and pulse points. That helps to cool the blood a little bit faster, so it helps to get through with it. And if you're not, you can only get some cold water. You can also, you get them wet, try fanning them, get the air circulating around them so it's not stagnant, and there actually helps work with that circulation. That's why sweat works.
Well, we talked a lot about kind of the symptoms and how to handle or how to help someone in need. But how do you just prevent it? How do you prevent heat stroke or heat exhaustion?
One of the big ones again, hydrate. Before you're going to be out, hydrate, and hydrate while you're out. And if you are sweating a lot, make sure you're using some sort of like sports drink, something that's going to have electrolytes and some glucose in it for your body to reprocess. It's not just water. You need more than that from what you're sweating. Also take breaks as you're doing work or hiking or camping or whatever. Take breaks where you're in the shade. With the hydration, avoid alcohol because that actually does not hydrate you and it does put you more at risk. Try and find ways to cool off. So make sure you're wearing cool, light-colored, loose clothing. You don't want it super tight when you're out. Wear wide-brimmed hats. That will help keep the sun off of you. And please, please, please don't leave seniors, children, animals alone in the car. Don't leave them in a car because it heats up quickly.
Are there some strategies other than using ice or air conditioning that someone could use to cool down or to stay cool?
One of the big ones is to the loose clothing, but also wetting the clothing. So if you have some access to water, the biggest thing is they have to get out of the sun. They need to get into some sort of shade. Even if you don't have trees, you get in the shade of a building, the shadow of a car, somewhere where you can get some shade to relieve the direct access of the sun and circulate the air and find some water sources to get some wet areas on them.
Perfect. Marla, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close out?
We don't think about this a lot with heat illnesses. And so a lot of times we're not able to recognize where we're at. So be aware of those around you, parents, coaches, be aware of what the heat index is. If it's going to be super high, cancel events. There's no reason to put anybody at risk as we're going through this. And if you are worried about someone being at risk for heat stroke, that's an emergency. Call 911. Don't just, get them out of the shade, but call 911 and stay with them until emergency personnel show them.
Thank you, Marla. We really appreciate you being here, and that is such valuable information. And if you want to do a little bit further research, we're going to put a few links into the video description below, and we're going to link to safekids.org that has a lot of great information on there. And if you want to subscribe to our USU Extension Heart Bunch videos, you can follow along when we do interviews like this in the future. And we also have a few other social media platforms. We have an Instagram and a Facebook if you want to follow along there. And thank you so much for watching today.